turbulence is the price you pay for flying high. So whenever you're flying high, you're going to have some bumpy areas. That's why I want to admonish you to don't give up, but hang in there.
Welcome to the I Am Dr. Sharon Show, featuring educators, authors, and entrepreneurs. You can join us live every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please follow Dr. Sharon across all social media platforms at I Am Dr. Sharon. And now your host, Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
Good morning and happy Sunday to everyone. This is the I Am Dr. Sharon Show, and I am Dr. Sharon. Thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. Before we get started, I would like to announce our book feature of the week, and it is Let Go, The Movement Process by Sean Wyman. You can follow him on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter, and you can purchase this wonderful book on Amazon. So again, it's Let Go, The Movement Process. So definitely check out him on our website at the IamDrSharonShow.com. And today, I am so excited for my wonderful guest this week. I have first Dr. Avon Hart-Johnson. She is the president and co-founder of the DC Project Connect. She serves as the International Coalition of Children with Incarcerated Parents as an active advocate for social change. She lives in Washington, D.C. with her husband and French Bulldog. I love pet parents. welcome.
Thank you
Thank you so much
Glad
for
to be
joining
here.
us. Oh, my goodness. I so appreciate you. I tell you, your bio, what I read doesn't even touch all the things that you do. So before we even get started, tell us a little more about Dr. Avon Hart-Johnson.
So thank you, first of all, for having me. What a wonderful blessing it is to have your radio show as a platform to raise social consciousness. I so appreciate this. A little bit about me. I am the president and one of the co-founders of DC Project Connect, which is a nonprofit organization located in the Washington, D.C. area. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we do. About me, I'm a researcher. I am a wife to Dr. Jeffrey Johnson. And yes, we do have a little fur baby at home.
I love my fur babies.
I have a master's in forensic psychology. And prior to entering the field of human services, I was in the field of IT, information technology. So I have a master's in information technology, and together, as I looked at forensic psychology and trying to understand the impacts of incarceration on family members, family systems, and communities as a whole, I said, wait a minute, this is incomplete. So I went on to pursue my PhD in human services counseling, and that gave me that well-rounded perspective in terms of how do I best serve. Because I always tell people at the end of the day, I did not want to have a legacy that says, she was a good IT manager,
Right.
if you know, so to speak. I said it has to be a more human perspective, and I'll tell you, by switching over to human services and changing my career path, it helped me to become in touch with the humanity that I have inside. And I tell you, when you work with people and populations that are vulnerable and that are hurting, especially children,
Yes.
you become more in tune and in touch with yourself as an individual. And that's a beautiful thing when it
really
happens,
is.
because what happens, you find yourself being led down the path towards your ultimate purpose and goals.
Wow.
So thank you for asking me
Absolutely.
and letting me share that.
Absolutely. So the DC Project Connect. Tell us a little more about this organization and what it addresses with the adverse impacts of mass incarceration.
So yes, so mass incarceration is a big word and a big phenomenon. Over 40 years, we have dealt with this failed experiment of over-incarcerating in the United States. We're one of the world's largest jailers. And we know that at present there are 2.3 million individuals incarcerated, right? And so when we think about that, what we don't track in federal databases or in a central place that I can think of or that I know of as a researcher is how families are impacted. We estimate that there are approximately 5 million. Now, sometimes that number goes from 2.7 million to 5 million children that are impacted by parental incarceration. So what we do as an organization, we're filling this gap, this niche within the DC area where we provide crisis intervention. You know, when families go through this experience of a loved one being involuntarily separated from the household, right? It might be a primary earner. It might be a brother, a sister, a son, a daughter. And when that, involuntarily separates the family system, they go through this phenomena of crisis. Now think about what it might be like on a rainy, miserable day like today. When someone who has been intrinsic in your family system is ripped out of the family system and you are left with a sense of hopelessness. Why? Because you're fighting against the criminal justice system. Now, we don't sanction that every crime is wrong. We don't go there. But the thing is that our focus is on the family system. Who is there to provide direction, guidance to the family system? So what we do is facilitate a conversation around, what are your options? We don't tell them what to do. We don't tell families how they must address their life, but rather what we do is we help them to understand what are the things that you need to consider as you consider putting up your house for bail or putting money towards someone's canteen who is incarcerated. Might you think about and consider whether or not you should pay rent or buy groceries? Because sometimes the psychological state in which you're in, and I'll talk about symbolic imprisonment in a minute, but the psychological state that you're in, you're in crisis mode.
Oh, absolutely.
You're in crisis mode. And so we know that an adverse life event such as this kind of trauma, and I don't mean trauma with a big T, I mean trauma with a little t. And trauma with a little t suggests that you might feel those kinds of feelings and responses that are consistent with post-traumatic stress.
Absolutely.
So hypervigilance, anxiety, somatic, maybe stomach aches, you can't sleep, you got an ongoing headache, triggering migraines or something like that. And then this is the grown-ups. Imagine what the children might be feeling.
Exactly. And speaking, really going on with the children, how we know that it affects them when there's parental incarceration, but what specific services do you provide for those children?
So we don't do interventions for children. Okay. We would make recommendations. Okay. But we do have publications. So we wrote a book in response. We do some work over at the Halfway House. We provide mentoring for females that are that have served their time and now they're ready to reintegrate into the family.
And this is Jamie's Big Visit,
so the
grown-up timeout.
That's right.
Interesting.
So it helps to explain the grown-up timeout.
I love that.
Yes. And so that's one of the publications that we provide, but we're also in the process of conducting a research study in Maryland, Virginia, and D.C., where we will be talking with parents and caregivers who care for children that have an incarcerated parent in order to provide the insights needed to develop an entire web-based platform where they'll be able to get talking points to have a conversation with children and in age-appropriate manner, or ways. And so, and we hope to be able to put other resources there for family members, because oftentimes what happens with children is that they're not told where the parent is.
Right.
So now the parent is missing and they somehow internalize it as their fault.
Wow.
Can you imagine what that might be like?
And so this is only one. I know we talked off camera about the newsletter that you provide.
Yes.
Talk a little more about the publications that you provide.
Sure. So the primary author and editor that collects our newsworthy stories is Dr. Jeff Johnson. He's the editor of our newsletter. And so captured in our newsletter are the work that we do in the community. For an example, we held a mentorship graduation program at the Fraser Mansion in Washington, D.C. We invited our graduates, women who had come home from prison and had gone through a mentor program. We actually held a graduation celebration and invited all the staff and our board of directors. So that's something that's newsworthy that would be in our newsletter.
Okay. That is awesome, I tell you. And so now in your research, you identified patterns, theorized and named symbolic imprisonment, which you talked about a little earlier, griefing and coping theory.
Yes.
What does all of this mean?
Okay, so I conducted a research study in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area that includes Maryland, Virginia, and D.C. And I looked at a population of African-American women. Why? Because 90% of those who leave D.C. to serve their prison sentences, if you're a male, they're African-American. So I looked at that population and I started to develop an interesting pattern of outcomes for women who were suffering involuntary separation. The first thing that I noticed is that they had this phenomena of vicarious imprisonment. And what that really means, and I named it symbolic imprisonment, and the reason I did so is because even though they may have gone to work and come back home, even though they might go grocery shopping or take the kids to school or whatever, they were actually cutting themselves off socially and withdrawing. And what happened is, so they started to emulate this vicarious imprisonment, I think for two reasons. My assumption is that the reason that they do that is for self-protection against stigma and shame, because how many people get tired of hearing that conversation about your incarcerated loved one? The second thing is for protection, right? So and then the other thing that I found is that they may have been punishing themselves because they felt a sense of guilt. I should have been able to save my son from the streets. I should have been able to somehow intervene and save my husband or my daughter. So that self-guilt and reflection comes back on them. The other thing, the grief, I found that these individuals were suffering in silence and grieving as if someone had died, but they didn't have closure. And so I've subsequently conducted workshops across the United States, and I'm hearing the same thing. People will shake their head when they hear about symbolic imprisonment, grief, and coping theory, because it's like, yes, that's what I feel.
Exactly.
And so to give something like that a name validates what has otherwise been known as disenfranchised grief. In other words, your grief is not worthy of grieving, right? Because you're grieving over what some might call a criminal or an offender. But we know that children have unconditional love for their parents if they're incarcerated, that oftentimes the spouses or the significant others actually have that unconditional love for someone who may be behind bars, whether it's guilty or innocent.
Wow.
So
and I think we may have a question for you. We'll see. Oh, no? Okay. We don't. Okay. So good. So now I want to turn to your latest book, African American Women with Incarcerated Mates, the Psychological and Social Impacts of Mass Imprisonment.
Yes.
Talk about this a little bit.
Okay. So this book really not only entails the state of affairs in terms of mass incarceration and how it affects the family. Now, I qualify that because even though the name of my book is African American Women with an Incarcerated Mate, I examined that sample, but what I do know as a researcher is that family systems are in crisis mode when a loved one is incarcerated, unless, of course, they were in danger prior to. What this book does is it provides insights. What is the child experience? And not only that, what are the interventions? If you were to pick this book up and not know that it was about incarceration, if you have issues of codependency, self-esteem issues, issues with just trying to grapple with the existential meaning. What is my life all about now that I'm going through this crisis? Why am I repeating this over and over again? How do you get out of that thought loop? How do you get out of that pattern? Actually, in this book, you can find those kinds of measures that will help you to do kind of a self-help, self-reflection, and ask yourself, how can I move from this current state that I'm in? And by the way, who owns the problem? Who owns the problem?
Right.
Sometimes what happens is when we are so invested in relationships, whether it's with our kids, whether it's with a significant other, we have a tendency to take that problem on and become a fixer. And if you read the book, there's a narrative about an individual by the name of Lotus. And Lotus is a fixer. And Lotus thought that she could fix her husband. She could fix her children or whatever. And what happens is it becomes this cycle of codependency. And it's unbalanced in the relationship setting where you might be given 70% and the others are only able to contribute 30% or less. And so what ends up happening is that you have yourself invested in someone else. And the thing is that's heartbreaking is that we cannot fix another person's problem.
True. That's so true.
We can advise and we can help. So in the book, it's well-rounded in that it deals with issues of life.
Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome. So how can the community, family members of faith provide a solution to this 40-year-old problem, actually, to mass incarceration?
So the thing that let's start with the faith-based community. The thing that I ask you as a faith-based community is to expand your prison ministry so that it can entail a group support for families and children.
I love that.
Let us do that. As a community, let us close the empathy gap. And what I really mean by that is that if we were to find someone grieving and suffering in silence over other losses, even a job, we would come to their aid and assistance and try to support them. But the problem is with this issue of mass incarceration and how it affects families is that we stuff it under a rug and we don't want to touch it. We don't want to talk about it. It kind of rises to the level of talking about things like racial injustice. It's uncomfortable. But if we can get it out into the light, if we can put it out into the light and illuminate it and raise it to the level of conversation where we're talking about it, then we diffuse some of the stigma associated with it.
Absolutely.
So that is two quick ways. The other way is to support us. Not everybody is conditioned or ready to open a nonprofit or go to volunteer in prisons or do the work that we do. Maybe it's not your ministry, but support us. Because if we do our job right, you'll sleep better at night knowing that we're not contributing to an intergenerational level of incarceration that we know happens, sometimes with children of incarcerated parents. The rehabilitation that we do in terms of mentoring, if we do our jobs right, when they go out on the street, they'll be able to go back into their family system and not recommit crimes. So support us. We're at www.dcprojectconnect.com. And so contribute to us. Donate your time as a volunteer. Contribute financially if you like. Buy our books, our publications. Come out and see us. We'll post our events on our events page, and just come out and support us. Share your ideas. Tell us what we can do to support you.
Awesome.
In this
And
work.
you're actually at the Authors Pavilion at the Black Caucus.
Yes, we're at the
about
Authors Pavilion at the Congressional Black Caucus. We will be there on the 13th, and we'll be there on the 14th. Dr. Jeffrey Johnson and I will talk about our book on contemporary research, and then I'll also talk a little bit, and maybe we'll do a panel discussion or a reading on the current books, and share our publications there.
Awesome. And let me share the others, and we can just name them. So this one is the symbolic imprisonment of African American women, basically what we just talked about. And this one is a collaboration, contemporary research and analysis on the children of prisoners. And I love the subtitle, Invisible Children. I love that. Where can individuals purchase all of these?
You can go to Amazon.com, and you can also go to our website. We'll make sure that we have all our publications listed there, so you can figure out where to obtain them. The one thing I wanted to mention about contemporary research, we conducted a multiple case study in the United Kingdom. We went to Wales, England, and Scotland. And our goal was to figure out how it is that they humanize the prisoner families who visit prisons. And they had play spaces set up, and they had nice areas to treat the families with dignity and respect, which is a different experience in America.
Wow.
Oftentimes, the families are treated guilty by association. And
right.
So we went to the UK, United Kingdom, to figure out what is it about this experience of treating families with dignity and respect? How can we emulate that and come back to the D.C. area and figure out how we can put a model in place, given that Maryland prisons do not allow parents and children to embrace or to hug during a visit. How disturbing is that? So that's featured in the book as primary.
And there's a Facebook question actually from Principal Brown. She says, how do you share your knowledge and support with families that are going through the loss of a family member through incarceration? Through workshops? Would you come to a school? Do you charge a service? So can you address that?
Okay, so great question. First of all, the crisis intervention strategies that we use is to tailor our intervention to the family on an as-needed basis. We tailor it to that individual experience because we know that what they might be facing is different, so it's not a boilerplate approach. Do we go into the school systems? We endeavor to do so, and we have done so. Dr. Johnson has actually gone into the school system during Career Day to talk about what it is that we do. Do we charge a fee? No, we don't. Our work is done through grants, and so our primary goal, we sell our publications to invest back into the business because we do not want to earn money on vulnerable populations. We'll never do that. We are a nonprofit, and so our goal, and in fact, when we put our website up and we have codified, various tools such as talking points for children of incarcerated parents, those kinds of things, when we put that website up, which will be a second website, we are going to make those publications available to the general public free. And so teachers that think that they may have a population of children. We don't want to single them out, but these are big issues that children deal with. And oftentimes they're compounded because there may be some level of bullying going on. If you have a parent that's not showing up at a football game, it's like, well, where's your parent? Oh, I heard your parent was in jail. You know, your daddy's in jail. Well, how might you deal with that before it escalates into a bullying experience? So these conversations really should be had within the school system, and we would be delighted to come to a school system within the DMV to speak on it.
Well, okay, trust me.
I've opened that door.
You have, because the majority of my audience are educators.
Okay, that's awesome.
So I'm sure they will be contacting you. So please give one more time all of your contact information and where they can connect with you on social media.
Yes. So you can connect with us on Twitter at capital DC at wait a minute, at DC capital CONNECT, DC Connect. And then you can locate us on our website at www.dcprojectconnect.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
Dr. Avon Hart-Johnson, I appreciate you, and your work is commendable. So thank you so much, and it's so needed. As a full-time educator, I know that you will be a bonus for these educators out here. So thank you.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate all educators. I know that you guys are the ones that are helping to pull together the family systems, to keep it intact, to care for our children, you know, the next generation. And I always say to everyone as I end the conversation, if you ask yourself, what can you do personally to help with this situation, I would tell you to commit to yourself, commit to saving a generation of children.
Wow. I love it. There you have it, guys. Dr. Avon Hart-Johnson. You definitely want to connect with her. I thank you. And so, guys, we're going to take a quick break. That was some heavy stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Miss Ashia Watson, author and event planner. So we'll be right back.
Thank you.
That's why I want to admonish you to don't give up, but hang in there.
Y'all see what I'm talking about? Come on, Kiara Sheehan, come help us. Everybody clap your hands. Kiara Sheehan, make some noise. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go.
And we are back with my next guest, Miss Ashia Watson. She is the author of Why Parents Secretly Hate Children's Birthday Parties. She's an entrepreneur. She's a speaker, a party planner, and owner of Party Sticklers. Ashia knows what it takes to manage work-life balance, family, and business. She's a party enthusiast and loves the rush and thrill you get when planning parties. Ashia, I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here too.
Absolutely. So, oh my goodness, this book, you just put it out.
I did.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for you because you are the bomb event planner.
Thank you.
And so it was only natural that you actually wrote about it. So let's talk about it. Why parents secretly hate children's birthday parties. Talk about
it. So the name says it all.
Exactly.
So a lot of people assume that parents love children's birthday parties, but that's not really the case. People have a love-hate relationships when it comes to children's birthday parties. Parents these days, they're working. Moms and dads, they're both working. They're stressed. They're struggling. They have life issues that they just don't have time to plan the perfect children's birthday parties.
Absolutely.
So instead of talking about the pixie dust and, all the great things about a party, which they are great, because I'm still an event planner. I still love it. They're great, love parties. But I wanted to give those parents that don't like birthday parties a voice. Okay. So this book actually gives those parents that have that love-hate relationship with children's birthday parties that voice, that much-needed voice that they need in the community.
That's awesome. So how did you start planning events? How did that even start?
Well, it really evolved. So I started off doing stationery and invitations. So a lot of people don't know that. So I started off stationery invitations, and it naturally evolved into event planning. I would plan different people's events for family and friends, and they would always say, Ashia, you really should do parties. You really should do event planning. And I'm like, no. No, that's not me. That's no. And eventually, I embraced all the feedback that people gave me, and it really turned into a passion for me. Wow. And I love it. I really do. I really enjoy it. Because you have to love it, because it's a lot of work.
Oh my God,
it's a lot of work. So
absolutely.
You have to really enjoy what you do.
So talk about Party Sticklers, because you not only do children's birthday parties, because I went to a dynamic event that you planned with Stephanie DeBerry.
Oh, Stephanie's
yes,
party. Yes,
it was awesome. And so it's not just yes. So it's not just children's birthday parties, but you do events. So talk a little bit about some of the events that you've actually planned.
Oh wow. So I've done a lot of events. Like you said, my niche is in children's birthday parties, but I do social events as well for adults. I've done events for the Redskins, 500 children's for, crafts and for charity events for that. I've done, just a ton of different children's events. There's just all types of different things. Yeah, there's a ton of different stuff. I mean, I can't even
So
think of
what recommendations would you give to those parents who are planning? Because although, they can hire you to plan a lot of DIYs, oh my God, and if they don't like it, oh my God, it can be so challenging.
Right.
And actually overwhelming.
Very overwhelming.
So what are some things, besides just come and hire you, but what are some things even in planning to get a planner for a birthday party? What would you suggest to a mom or a parent or whomever?
So I would suggest the first thing to do, if you're a DIY mom or parent, plan ahead. That's the worst thing. People always try to wait to the last minute to plan a party. That is the worst thing you can do, because if you wait, you'll have less choices. The venue that you may want may be booked, and then you'll have to find another venue, or the caterer that you want, maybe they're not available. So always plan ahead for that. You also want to make sure that you don't break the piggy bank. Don't break the piggy bank. Stay within your budget. Just say no. If your child is saying that they want, some amusement park, like fabulous crazy party or whatever, just if it's not in your budget, don't do it. And don't stay within your means. You know what your budget is. If you can't afford it, don't spend it. And also, just, you just have to be mindful that you have to really involve your kids as well into the party planning process. It's not about you. It's about the kids. So I know you may want Johnny to have, a space party, but if Johnny doesn't like space, you know,
Right.
go ahead and give him the party that he wants.
So what about these annual, every year birthday parties? Like, how long does that last, or should it?
Typically, it lasts until 12. So
Okay,
usually,
wow.
usually children's birthday parties is from 1 to 12 years
Wow.
old.
Okay,
And then
I didn't
after
know
that,
that.
you'll start getting more of the milestone
Right,
events.
okay.
You know, you'll have the Sweet 16s, the quinceañeras, and so forth.
Wow.
But nowadays, things are actually changing in the event planning space, because now a lot of parents are celebrating not
Right.
just milestones,
Absolutely.
but every year is a milestone party.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely
That's
changing.
true.
So it's no longer 5, 10, 15, 13. So now every year my clients are throwing, you know, a 5th birthday party can be 100 people at a
Wow.
hotel.
Wow.
You know, so these parties are really extravagant, and so people are doing it up for the
Wow.
parties. Yeah.
In the book, you talk about food allergies, and I know
Right.
as a planner for a children's birthday party specifically, you have to be very careful with that.
You do.
Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so I briefly talk about my own son, because my son has he has severe food allergies, so he's on medication for that, and that's one of the reasons why I talked about it. But there's a lot of stigma with the whole food allergy. A lot of parents, you go to a party and people don't ask about the food allergies, and then your son goes to a party, he eats pizza, or he eats something that maybe he doesn't know that he's not supposed to eat, and then now he's having a reaction, or you know, his asthma flares up, or maybe even have to go to the hospital.
Wow.
So you just have to be very careful. If you're hosting a party, make sure that you ask parents what type of food allergies or dietary restrictions that you have, and then to kind of go from there. I would recommend, though, if your child does have an allergy, go ahead and maybe pack them a lunch, you know, so they don't have to feel, because
Absolutely.
it's sad when a kid goes to a birthday party and they can't even eat pizza. And I've seen that. Like, so kids go to a birthday party, they can't have the cake, they can't eat pizza. So their parents will go ahead and pack them a lunch, so at least they can feel like they can have something that they can enjoy at the party and not feel left out.
Absolutely.
'Cause you never want to be the child that, you know,
Right.
you don't want to be that child that is messing up everybody else's party because you can't have pizza.
Now,
So-
are most of the children's parties drop-offs, or do the parents stay with
Oh,
the?
I love this topic. Oh my goodness. So typically around, let's just say from 1, obviously, because you have to stay at a first birthday party, but up until about first, second grade, so I guess 5, 6 years old, maybe 7, depending on your child, parents stay.
Okay.
So nowadays, it went from, you know, back in my day, you would just drop your child
Right.
off, right? And that would be it. You would come pick them up at the designated time. But these days, parents stay. They don't know you.
Right.
Your child may know,
Right.
you know, your child, but they don't know you as a parent. They don't know you, so they don't feel comfortable just leaving their child at your home. So parents stay, and now and that's one of the reasons why parents have that love-hate relationship with
The
parties, is because parents stay. So not only do you have to entertain the children,
That is funny.
but now you have to entertain
Yes.
the parents as well. And that can be a hassle, that in itself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But please tell everyone where, first of all, they can get your book, and
Okay.
then also how can they contact you if they need to hire you to plan their next event.
Well, I hope you definitely hire me to plan your next event. So you can get a copy of Why Parents Secretly Hate Children's Birthday Parties on Amazon, Kindle, and on my website, www.partysticklers.com, which will also direct you to Amazon, Kindle. And we're also available on Barnes & Noble online, not in the stores yet, but online as well. And our email address is letstalk@partysticklers.com. And once again, the website is partysticklers.com.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Ashia. I
Thank
am
you,
so
Dr.
excited.
Sharon.
I've seen your work, so I know it's awesome, and so I appreciate you. Such wonderful, creative juices coming out.
And
I love it.
I know you weren't able to attend my book launch party, so I just have, this was the little bag. I have this for you,
Thank
some little
you.
some little treats
I
in
appreciate
here.
that.
So,
Thank you so much. I love it. I will definitely, because I do know that you said you're going to have other events with your book, so I will definitely make sure I am at one of them.
I hope you do.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Great.
So guys, again, Ashia Watson, she is the author of Why Parents Secretly Hate Birthday Parties. So you definitely want to pick it up and connect with her, especially if you hate planning parties. So guys, we're going to take the last break, and we're going to be back with Charvette Mitchell. So you got to stay tuned. So we'll be right back.
Turbulence is the price you pay for flying high. So whenever you're flying high, you're going to have some bumpy areas. That's why I want to admonish you to don't give up, but hang in there.
Y'all see what I'm talking about? Come on, Kiara Sheehan, come help us. Everybody clap your hands. Kiara Sheehan, make some noise. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go.
What you gonna do when your back's against the wall? How you gonna respond when it seems the hope is lost? Tell me what you gonna do when you need a little more grace. Yeah. How you gonna respond when they try to test your faith? Hey, God.
We are back, guys. Oh my goodness. Charvette Mitchell. She is the creative director of Mitchell Productions Web Design. She is a social media coach. She's a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University with a bachelor's in marketing. She is the author and the talk show host, radio show host of the Charvette Mitchell Show out of Richmond, Virginia. Charvette, oh my God, I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with your audience.
Oh my goodness.
Those that can hear us and those that can see us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I first have to start out by saying I attended your pop-up workshop yesterday in Laurel, Maryland. And oh my goodness, I had an interview at 3 o'clock yesterday and I had to leave and I did not want to leave.
I know.
It was phenomenal.
Thank
oh my
you.
God.
Thank
And so
you for
this
being
was
there.
the third and final stop that leads up to your conference.
Yes.
First of all, let's talk about the conference first and then
Okay.
we'll go back.
Absolutely. So this is my third year hosting the #Coaching with Vet pop-up conference. And so I started 3 years ago. This is the third year. And this year I did something different where I decided to do a few pop-up workshops along the way. So the main conference is a 2-day conference that's in Richmond, Virginia. And it's December 7th and December 8th. And it's targeted to female entrepreneurs or females that want to be. You know, you want to rub shoulders with people that are going in the direction that you want to go. And so for 2018, I had this idea, and then actually my pastor, shout out to Chief Apostle Olive C. Brown, she was like, you need to take the pop-up on the road. And so I made a tour up. And I went to Atlanta. I went to Raleigh, North Carolina. Last stop of the tour was yesterday here in Laurel, Maryland. And it all leads up to the 2-day conference. And so it's all about workshops and speakers that are really helping the female entrepreneur. Last year, we were fortunate to have Kim Coles from
Yes.
Living Single in the snow.
Yes.
And, you know, some people can make it and some people
Yes.
couldn't. But I've got a great lineup for this year. And I'm excited you're attending as a VIP.
So excited.
guest.
So
Yes.
excited. And, you know, I was thinking yesterday, because I knew we were coming today, I'm like, I don't even remember when or how I met you, but I know it had to be social media.
Yes.
But I'm just so grateful because you
Aw.
are dynamic. You are.
Thank you.
And
Thank
so
you.
I'm just, oh my God. And so I want to now go to yesterday because you did the keys to building your online platform.
Yes.
And that's going to be part of what you talk about at the big conference in
Yes.
December. But one thing that you said, and I think I knew it, but it was like an aha moment, the consumer and the customer.
Yeah.
That thing woke me up.
Yes.
I was like, you are so right. Talk about that.
Yeah, so I have to give credit to Allison Bird. She's the first person I heard say that. She's an online business strategist. But a lot of times we will have people who will watch our videos, click like on Facebook, watch us on Facebook Live, and consume, read our blog
Yes.
posts, come and go to our websites, and they will consume our information, but they won't buy. And so those people are consumers. And so what you have to do as a business owner is recognize that you have consumers and then you have customers. And so your goal and your objective is to target and gear to and put out what is really for your customer and recognizing who your customer is, because everyone isn't your customer.
Absolutely.
And not to be frustrated and confused by those that are just consumers.
That thing right there, I'm telling you, it just cleared up a whole lot of stuff for me yesterday, because that's so true. And one of the things, again, that you talked about is finding where your audience is. If it's Facebook, okay, that's where you need to be.
Yeah.
If it's Twitter, if it's Instagram, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of times the main complaint about social media, and I hear it from everyone, is it takes so much time. I don't like it. I don't know what I'm doing. There's so many platforms that are out there. And so I say focus in on where your customer is. If LinkedIn is where you're getting paid clientele, spend more time there. For me, Facebook is where I get most of my clientele, so I spend time there. So the main thing is figuring out, you got to be on a couple places, couple of the sites, to see where you're getting some traction and where you're getting some communication and some connection from those that are following you, and then hone in on that one area. So you don't have to be on all of the sites, but you do have to figure out where your clientele is. If you're reaching the millennials, if you have things that are very visual, Instagram is probably where you want to spend most of your time. So those are just some examples. You having more of a professional networking and a professional background, LinkedIn is giving you more traction. So there are a lot of different ways to look at it, but you want to just focus on the area of where your customer is.
I love that. And the tips that you get, oh my goodness. That's, I tell you, one of the things that really draw me to you is the value of content that you provide on your very quick Facebook Lives. They're not long. You don't spend a lot of time on there, but when you go on there, it's value. And so you talked a lot about the Facebook Lives and that how you have to do the live interviews. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so we're Facebook Live now. Hey guys, and absolutely, and YouTube Live.
Yes,
too, so
absolutely.
We don't want to exclude that.
That's right.
Live streaming is here to stay, and it is not going anywhere. So if you have fear about it, you have to get over your fear. Because you have to do it. But here's the beautiful thing. Live streaming, people have a lower expectation, actually, of what shows up on live stream. Now, you got it going on. We got lights, we got cameras, we got multiple shots. This is advanced. But for the average consumer, the average person that's an entrepreneur, they can get on their phone, they can get on their laptop and go live. And so people don't have the expectation that you have intros and all of that. Again, we're more advanced today. But for you that's watching us and that's an entrepreneur, you can just go live, and people they're going to be drawn to you because they want to be brought into, well, what's going to happen? They're sitting on the edge of their seat because they know that it's live.
Exactly.
And all of these social networking sites, they cater to live streaming. They put you out on their platforms more. They promote your content more because they realize that those that are on their platforms are geared to and they like and are attracted to live streaming. It's the only thing that's going to work for you. Wow. They turn around Facebook. When you're live streaming on Facebook, they go out and send notifications. It's been sending notifications while you've been live this whole entire show. Some people that are watching us right now, go ahead and put a 1 in the comment if you got a notification that told you to come watch this show.
Wow.
And so it is really the best thing next to being live with someone, being in a room, at a conference, or what have you, live streaming. You got to do it.
Oh, I love it. So now let's go to your web design because you, oh my goodness, your websites are so beautiful.
Thank you.
So let's talk about that because you said yesterday also how you've evolved, that what you started out charging, of course, you're not charging that today.
Nope.
And so that's really a lesson for entrepreneurs because a lot of entrepreneurs have a hard time with monetizing their gift.
Yeah.
And so you have to start somewhere. You can't keep giving stuff away for free.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit.
Don't do it. Because that's how I actually got into web design. So I was sitting at a friend of mine's kitchen table. Her name is Edwinette Moses. About 10 years ago, she was starting a business. So I have a degree in marketing from VCU. So I was doing brochures and handouts and stuff. And I stopped. And I said, well, wait a minute. You need a website before we go print all of this stuff off. And so I said, well, let me figure out something. So I put up this little rinky-dink website, and then people started asking me, Charvette, can you do a website for me? Wow. Charvette, can you do a website? I started working on the website for my church. I was like, hey, I can volunteer and help with the website. And after I did a few things free, I was like, wait a minute, ain't I supposed to get paid for this?
Right.
With the ain't.
Right,
Yes,
that's right, absolutely.
Ain't this a business? Ain't I supposed to get paid? Don't people pay for this? And I realized I had a business. And so got my LLC and all that kind of stuff and jumped into it. So that's how I got started, was doing a few things free. But then you do have to monetize, because things that come to you easily don't come to other people easily. And that's a way to know, should I charge? If you can do it easily and other people have to think about it and figure it out, then you have a skill or a gift that you need to get paid for.
Absolutely. And so how difficult, though, is it? Because a lot of times, you know, our closest friends and family can be the worst in paying you to do stuff because they feel like you should just do it. Well, what are your suggestions about that?
They're probably not your customer.
Okay.
So we go back to the consumer versus the customer. They're probably not your customer.
But do you suggest that you do give your services that way, or you choose not to? Like, what's your recommendation?
It depends. It really depends. If you have a friend or family member that there's some connection and you want to do it, then at the least get a good testimonial out of it.
Exactly.
Like, they should be shouting you to the rooftop if you have done some free service for them. So you should think about it as that it is still an exchange. Maybe not a monetary exchange, but now you have let's say it's a website. Now I have a great site that if I did it for a friend for some reason for free, friends don't have that expectation.
That's right.
Y'all know what's going on. But now I have a great site that I put in my portfolio that I can show somebody else my work. I have a great testimonial that I can have on my blog, social media, email. So there is still an exchange. Don't let it be just a one-sided thing. Get something out of it.
I like that. So what about the pick your brain? Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That drives me crazy. But so a lot of people, and again, those are the people that are closest to you that will, send you a message. Can we do this? Can I just need to pick your brain? What's your thoughts on that, especially if you make money on coaching on those very things that they're trying to pick your brain on? Talk about that.
So if you get a lot of the same type of requests, I want to pick your brain about XYZ, and so it's a lot of the same things, that's one indicator that you need to have some type of free download, a checklist, a video that will get them into their email list. So that's the first thing. Okay. So if someone says to me, hey, I know you have a podcast, a radio show, how do I get started? I have a website that I can send them to that gives them a free download. Okay. I have no conversation. I have no consultation about that. That's a free download that I have available on my website. So that's the first thing, is that for things that you're getting a lot of the same questions, you need to have a free download, because that cuts your space off. Okay. Now, if you do want to do consultations or something that's complimentary or pick your brain, you need to have a set time. So I don't even call them pick my brain. I call it a meet and greet. It's 15 minutes. So it's not an hour. It's not I'm meeting you for lunch or meeting you for coffee. It is a 15-minute phone conversation. And really that's about me hearing what they need and then letting them know what I can offer them. So you need a free offer that will address some of the same questions that you're getting to get rid of those pick your brain. And then if you do want to do some type of free consultation, limit the time. 10 to 15 minutes is my recommendation.
I love it. So now let's talk about the Charvette Mitchell radio show. Over 10 years you've been doing this. Oh my God. Talk about it.
So I was doing radio and podcast before it was sexy.
That's
now it's all cool and sexy. You got video and all that. But I got started because of the web design. Okay. So a local publisher, Kingdom Publishing Group, Nina Wells, may she rest in peace, just passed not too long ago, brought me in to talk to her authors about having a website. Well, in this same kind of forum, she had radio, TV, bookstore owners, all kind of media. So when the radio person was up talking, 1540 AM Rejoice in Richmond, Virginia, I said, I'm kind of, dramatic, and I can do that. So I basically bought an advertising package and then split it out and created a show. Wow. So that's how the show started about 10 years ago. And then people started asking, can I come on your show? Can I come on your show? And I'm like, I'm only on once a month, and I'm only featuring clients. And then I found out about internet radio and things of the nature that we have now.
Right.
And I moved to that platform, which broadened my experience. And so I've had the opportunity to interview people like Thelma from Good Times and Mama Joyce from The Real Housewives, all the way to like Dr. Jamal Bryant, co-pastor Susie Owens. A lot of you know in this, in this area, Dr. Cindy Trim. And so it's just been something that has pulled me along. I have not had to push it.
I love it. Oh my goodness. So the last thing that I want you to tell, because this story from yesterday was so impactful. Your first event with 2 guests. Yeah. You got to tell an abbreviated version of that.
So, people think events are easy. And events, and when I'm talking about events versus our last guest, she's going to plan your events, but I'm talking more about conferences and workshops for entrepreneurs. I see a lot of people pop up and do them, and they are not easy. You work for every ticket, and so I know that now, but I didn't know that probably about 4 years ago. So about 4 years ago, I said, okay, I'm gonna have a workshop. Didn't have, I wanted maybe 10 to 15 people. I rented this conference room at the Aloft Hotel in Short Pump area in Virginia. Those that are familiar with Richmond that may be watching. And at this point, 4 years ago, the radio show was doing well. I was getting a lot of likes. I had what I felt like was following. And so I said, it'll be easy to fill up, 10 or 15 people. It was a $150 ticket for a 2-hour session for authors, tailored to marketing for authors. So I said, I can easily do that. Long story short, 2 people signed up. Wow. 2 people signed up. So I have this conference room in the Aloft Hotel, and 2 people attend. Now, what's interesting is that leading up to it, as I was not seeing registrations come in, I was getting this fear. And the fear was about, what are people going to say? Yep. When they ask for pictures from my event, or who attended, and video, and I'm got this conference room and 2 people are sitting in it. So I have the event, and the 2 people, let me just say about the 2 people, I have primarily I have a huge faith-based audience or connections, and African-American connections. One person was a Caucasian gentleman. The other one was, and he found me from a Facebook ad. The other one was a young lady who does different type of writing. She was an author. I'll say it that way. They showed up. Okay, so not really who I thought. People that I knew were authors that needed this. I'm like, I personally know X amount of authors did not sign up. So I host the event. I love it. To the 2 people, and of course I kill it because my content is just going to you kill it either way. It doesn't matter. That's right. The gentleman walked up. Now all I'm concerned about is nobody showed up. I think it was a failure. I don't have pictures. The gentleman walks up afterwards and he says, I am a leader of a writers group in Richmond, and can you come speak at the writers group, and what is your fee? Exactly. He had me speak that year, he had me speak the next year, and he hosted a conference and had me speak, and he paid me to do social media advertising for a week, all paid events from a two-person event.
I love it. I tell you.
So even though we sometimes are looking at numbers, and so that was just God showing, listen, I can work with 2 people.
That's right. Absolutely.
Now we fast forward, and we're in my conferences, and I have boutique-style conferences, so 80 people, and the room is packed. And the conferences have been successful, and I've done things to build my brand. But that was my first initial stepping out of me hosting something. But let me tell you what I regret about that. I regret that I initially thought that it was not a failure, but it didn't work.
Absolutely.
And I regret that I didn't jump right back in 3 months later and say, well, let me maybe try to get 4. And let me maybe do it 3 more times and let me get 6 people, because they were paying $150 for 2 hours of time. So that's what I regret. So I want to say to those that are watching and listening and all of that, keep going. Absolutely. The numbers, don't be scared of the numbers. If you're doing events, definitely, or anything related to your business, keep going. And so I had probably like a 2.5 year period before I did an event after that first time. So that would be a regret that I would say, and something, a teachable moment that I should have got right back in 3 months, 6 months. And so where would I be now? Wow. You know, I might have been charging $600 or $700 for the pop-up.
Exactly. So wow, awesome. So Sharvette, please tell everyone where they can find you, where they can connect with you, and where they can get tickets for your conference.
Yes. So the easiest way, SharvetteMitchell.com. So I know those of you that are hanging out on Facebook and also on our YouTube and all of the different broadcast areas. SharvetteMitchell.com is my main website. Has all my social media links right there. Twitter, you can follow me, twitter.com/Sharvette, Facebook.com/Sharvette. For the pop-up conference, you can get to it from SharvetteMitchell.com, or you can go to heygirlhey.biz, B-I-Z, heygirlhey.biz. But SharvetteMitchell.com will get you everywhere you need to. Everything, website, radio, all of that.
I love it.
Yay.
Y'all see why I love Sharvette Mitchell. I
love you too, Dr. Sharon.
Oh my God. And we just found out our birthdays are a day apart.
Yes. Great.
Celebrating in September. Yes. So guys, thank you so much for a wonderful show today. I want to thank all of my guests, Dr. Avon Hart-Johnson, Ashia Watson, and of course Sharvette Mitchell, and Ron Jackson, the engineer who I could not do this without. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I am Dr. Sharon, and this is the I Am Dr. Sharon Show. You can follow us across all social media platforms at I Am Dr. Sharon, and that is Dr. Sharon. As always, the bigger the dream, the harder the grind. Push, pray, but continue to grind.
Turbulence is the price you pay for flying high. So whenever you're flying high, you're going to have some bumpy areas. That's why I want to admonish you to don't give up, but hang in there.